It's much easier. And so, one of the first things that you need to be sure of at your young age, as I said, to lay a foundation. The foundation is to be born again. To be born again is to become a child of God, and not only born again, but to be sure that you're a child of God with no doubt at all. Now, if you grew up in a Christian family, like I did, going to church every Sunday, reading the Bible almost every day, we probably would, even at a very young age, our parents would have asked us to receive Jesus into our heart. And that's right, even a little child can receive Christ into his heart. And I remember one sister who came to Bangalore at the age of 83 or something like that. She told us, she was a European sister, that at the age of 3, she accepted Christ. And when she was about 7 or 8 years old, she heard a missionary from China speaking about China, and she felt a call to go to China. And when she was much older, 40, 50, she went to China. So I remember that story so well that I know that a person can be born again and become a child of God even when they are 3 or 4 years old. And they get a call from God even at a very young age. Now, I accepted Christ probably many times because I go to a meeting and I ask Jesus to come into your heart. And I say, yes, Lord, I want to be a child of God, come into my heart. But my problem was I was never sure. Probably some of you are like that, not sure whether Christ has really come in. Have I become a child of God? And you know something? In all those years when I was not sure, I never grew spiritually. It's very important not only to receive Christ into your life, but to be absolutely sure that Christ has come and forgiven you. So that assurance can come by reading the Bible. So I remember I used to have the habit of reading some verses from the Bible every day. And maybe from the age of 13 onwards, many times I would have accepted, Lord, come into my heart over the next 6 years. Never sure. I don't know if any of you are like that. I've never had any spectacular experience or seen any light or heard any voice. I just had the Bible. And one day when I was reading the Bible, I read from John chapter 6. And I want you to look at this verse, John chapter 6 and verse 37. I was just reading. I was not particularly looking for a verse. That day, my passage happened to be John chapter 6. And I read that in verse 37, the last part of the verse 37, John 6:37, Jesus saying, if anyone comes to me, I will certainly not cast him out or reject him. Listen to that. Take it as a word for you. If anyone, that's you, Jesus says, comes to me, I will definitely not reject him. I will receive him. And I said, Lord Jesus, I was all alone in my room. I said, Lord Jesus, I've asked you many times to come to my heart. I came to you many times. And I felt from that verse, Jesus is saying to me from that verse, I did not reject you. I said, thank God. Thank God I can be sure today that Christ has accepted me. And if some of you are not sure, I hope you will be sure today. Even from that verse, Jesus will not reject anyone who comes to him sincerely. I was not perfect. I had so many mistakes and problems in my life, but he accepted me. Jesus said he came for sinners. He did not come for holy people. You remember once the Pharisees asked him, Lord, why are you always with the sinners? And he said, I'm a doctor. I'm a physician. And it's the sick people who need a doctor. You people think you're healthy. Actually, the Pharisees were more sick than anybody else. But they didn't realize it. The most sick person is the person who doesn't realize he's sick. And the Pharisees were like that. They thought they were holy, but they were not. They thought they were righteous. But there were other people in Israel who knew they were sinners, and they welcomed Jesus. So remember this. If you feel there's a lot of sin in your life, I want to tell you that Jesus came for you, especially. And I was a young man, and I was defeated by all the wrong thoughts that I had, and anger, and many things like that. All of you have, fighting with others and all that. I had a lot of problems, just like every young person, not especially evil, but normally evil, like other young people. And I said, Lord, I want you to forgive me, first of all, completely blot out my past sins. And I was sure, based on that verse. And then I discovered that when I confess my sin to the Lord, He cleanses me completely from all sin. So here is another great verse that will help you throughout your life. 1 John, the first epistle of John, chapter 1. If you're writing it down, it'll be very good to write down these verses. 1 John chapter 1 and verse 9. Apply it to yourself. If you say to yourself, if I confess my sin, Jesus is faithful and righteous to forgive me all my sins and to cleanse me from all evil and unrighteousness in my life. That's a great verse. I had great use for it. Because we don't come to a life of victory overnight. It took me how many years? Many, many years. So in all those years, when we fall down, we get up, we need to confess our sin to the Lord immediately. Look at sin like a thorn getting into your foot. If a thorn gets into your foot, how long do you wait till you pull it out? You won't even wait 1 second. It hurts to have a thorn poking your foot. You stop, sit down, and pull out the thorn and then move on. Take that attitude whenever you commit a sin, in words or in deeds. That's a thorn. Go to the Lord immediately, in your thoughts, wherever you are. And say, Lord, I'm sorry I slipped up there in my thoughts. I'm sorry I